The Onkyo TX-RZ70 home theater receiver. It's Onkyo's flagship model, packing 11 channels of power and processing into a seriously robust package. It's a do-everything home theater powerhouse, easily handling a variety of surround sound configurations, with all the inputs and outputs you're likely to need. Plus, built-in Dirac live room correction and other features that will please movie and music lovers alike. Onkyo gives you 11 powered channels to work with, opening up a world of possibilities and configurations. In addition to your main home theater zone, you've got 2 additional zones available. With 11 channels in play, you've got enough for a full surround system, including height channels, and have channels left over for powering a stereo pair in up to 2 other rooms. You could also use a couple leftover channels to bi-amp your front speakers. Or maybe you just want to go nuts with a 7.2.4 surround system. Power is rated at 140 watts RMS, running Onkyo's dynamic audio amplification system, which uses high current capacitors and transformers, plus a discrete stage to exert pinpoint control over your speakers and deliver beautiful dynamics. You can feel all the beefy internal components that make this possible when you pick up the RZ70. It weighs in at nearly 50 pounds, thanks to the high quality components inside. The brains behind all that muscle is Onkyo's digital signal processing, or DSP. It can process Dolby Atmos and DTS:X soundtracks for those 11 channels. And it's THX certified select, which means the RZ70 is capable of delivering the same reference level sound at home that you'd experience in a movie theater. Onkyo has 4 THX modes you can use, all of which adjust the processing to suit different scenarios. It doesn't stop there. You've got various IMAX enhanced modes, audio enhancements, gaming modes, and various other fun digital processing to choose from. I like DTS:X Virtual X, which takes a soundtrack that doesn't have height channels and does a pretty convincing job of making it sound like you have them. Dirac Live Room Correction might just be the most impactful of the TX-RZ70's processing abilities. This is how you get your system fine-tuned after you've gotten all your speakers hooked up. Using the included microphone and the Onkyo app, you simply set up the mic according to the instructions and follow the prompts in the app. Once you're done, your home theater is dialed into your room, with the software applying tweaks to compensate for the layout, reflections, and other factors unique to your space. Dirac Live setup takes about 10 minutes, and we highly recommend it as a starting point for tuning your system. You've got a total of 7 HDMI inputs, 6 of which can be found on the back panel, and 3 outputs, including an eARC output and a video output for a second zone. All 6 rear panel inputs work with HDMI 2.1, so they'll pass through 4K at 120 Hz or 8K at 60 Hz video. There are 2 optical and 2 coaxial inputs, and 4 analog RCA inputs, plus an additional one for a turntable with a moving magnet cartridge. A USB input lets you connect a hard drive full of high-res music, and there's a set of old-school composite video inputs for older gear that uses them. You've got 2 subwoofer preamp outputs and a set of 13 speaker preamp outputs. Around front and behind the panel under the display are a bunch of physical controls along with the remaining HDMI input, and a 1/4-inch headphone jack. The front panel HDMI input uses HDMI 2.0 versus the 2.1 of the rear inputs. To the right of the display, you've got source and zone selection buttons and a nice, heavy, and precise feeling volume knob. All these physical controls are nice to have, and while they perform the same functions as Onkyo's remote, I like having instant access to basic functions when I'm near the receiver. Music streaming through the RZ70 works great too. You've got Bluetooth for easy streaming and also a lot of Wi-Fi options. There's AirPlay 2 for Apple users, Chromecast built in for everyone else, and the receiver works with DTS Play-Fi and Spotify Connect. The sound quality enhancement modes for music are my favorite. There's a direct mode that shuts down any processing not directly related to sound quality to keep the signal path as clean as possible. And then a pure audio mode which goes even further, also shutting down the display. No matter what digital music you send it, there's a nice ESS Saber DAC, or digital to analog converter, that renders your music with punch and detail. So yes, the TX-RZ70 does so many things. It's a powerful tool for anyone who cares deeply about sound quality and wants to build the home theater of their dreams. So how does it stack up against its competition? The Sony STR-AZ5000ES offers an interesting comparison. It's less expensive than the RZ70 and offers 11 channels plus 2 subwoofer outputs just like the RZ70. The Sony has a little less power at 120 watts RMS, has fewer inputs and outputs overall, and no phono input. The STR-AZ5000ES could save you some cash while you power all those speakers if it fits the bill for you. However, I'd spring for the TX-RZ70 for a couple of reasons. One, it has Dirac Live, which I've had experience with and find almost magical how it manages a nice, balanced sound even when I've crammed speakers into an odd layout. To be fair, the Sony receiver does have its own room correction, but Dirac has made me a huge fan over the years. The other reason I prefer the RZ70 is because it offers 2 discrete subwoofer preamp outputs. By discrete outputs, I mean that Onkyo gives you control over each sub-preamp output individually, rather than applying the same processing to both equally. I want that feature because when I run 2 subwoofers, they're likely to be completely different rather than a matched pair. If you only need 9 channels, but most of the same functionality, the Onkyo TX-RZ50 is a great choice. It's got a little less power, a few less ins and outs, but it's a beast in its own right, and very similar to the RZ70. The Onkyo TX-RZ70 certainly ticks a lot of boxes, and considering everything it does well, it's a good value for what it is. If you have any questions about it or need help deciding, get in touch with us at Crutchfield, 7 days a week. Thanks for watching.